Greetings viewers, Art the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel. Hey, on ETCG1 we don't do repair videos, so if you're looking for Art the Car Guy repair videos, head over to the Art the Car Guy channel and watch as many of those as you would like. I'll make things easy for you, I'll post a link in the description, you can go there now. And that way you don't have to listen to me rattle on about stuff and not actually fix anything and give you any kind of useful information, so go, be gone with you. The rest of you, hey, welcome to the conversation. Today's topic is the art of listening. I'm not really sure how this came about. I kind of thought of it on the drive to the shop today. The art of listening is something that I think takes a while to develop. Some people are born with natural abilities as far as conversation and things go, but some people, like myself, need a little bit of time to learn the finer nuances, let's say, of it's not so much conversation. There's a lot of things that the art of listening can benefit you with. What I mean when I say the art of listening is that when you're in a conversation, or say for instance you're talking to a customer, the art of listening is trying to sift through those layers, perhaps, of what someone is actually saying. You know, either the person that you're talking to or listening to may not be very articulate, they might not be able to communicate very well, they may be saying things that are using words that aren't quite correct, especially when it comes to auto repair and you're dealing with customers. They may describe it as a doohickey or a thingy, or, you know, the noise sounds like, I don't know, a box of marbles, stuff like that. And you have to sort of sift through that information to try to get to the core of the information that they're trying to convey to you, which is basically, my car broke, you fix. That can take some time to develop. I actually think in many cases, like say at a dealership situation, they usually send like a service writer off to camp or a school in order to learn more about this art of listening and also the art of the upsell. But to really hear what the customer is trying to say and try to convey that information to a technician, if you're a service writer. If you're a technician and you're talking directly to the customer, personally I think that's one of the best scenarios. Because there can be something lost in translation between another person and the work order and you. So you get the work order and maybe it's not typed up, it's not an accurate description, it just says, car found on road dead. Okay, now what? Well, you pretty much get an idea of what to do at that point, but there's subtle details that are missing, like maybe just before it happened something occurred, like the ignition switch or whatever suddenly, or all the lights on the dash suddenly came on at the same time the car died, or everything went out. It was just like something came down and shut the car off, you know, flipped the switch. These little clues can be things that can lead you toward a better diagnosis. And it's very important when you're talking to customers to try and use those listening skills to figure out what they're actually saying. Now another time when listening comes in handy is, say for instance you're dealing with an irate customer, or just an irate or belligerent person in general. I've come to find that many times when I encounter these people, that I may not necessarily be their issue. I may just be the person who is there at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I try to take that into account. So in a way, you can kind of take the art of listening so that you can depersonalize. You can not feel like those comments are directed towards you. It may just be directed towards the world in general. Maybe that person had a bad day or whatever, and they're just taking it out on you. And the art of listening can help you sift through that stuff and realize, okay, this person really has an issue with me. And if somebody really does have an issue with you, they may not be able to articulate precisely what that issue is. And I bet if you press them in those moments where there's, say, a heated exchange, I bet if you press them in those moments to try to put a finer point on what it is that they actually have a problem with, they may have difficulty doing that, maybe due to the frustration that they're feeling. But when you get frustrated, you get unfocused. And if you're unfocused, you can't necessarily articulate what you're trying to say. So you're just maybe spouting expletives, you're just feeling that just anger welling up within you. Now this anger can lead to a lot of different things. It can escalate a situation, it can ratchet things up. And in a way, it's incumbent upon you, I sort of touched on this a little bit in the Be Like Yoda video. It's incumbent upon you to try to take a step back from that situation and try to see that person for what it is they're really trying to say and what it is they're really trying to communicate. Maybe they really do have like real issues, either with their own personality or in their lives. And like I said, you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. If you escalate those situations, it virtually never pays off. I mean, every once in a while in a movie, well, guess what? There are script writers that write movies, so things happen in movies just the way they're supposed to. Trust me. In real life, it doesn't work that way. There are no scripts. I mean, you may imagine in your mind, you may have a certain idea that, you know, if I'm in the right, I'm a righteous person, I am the one that is being wronged here, I should push back. And that escalates the situation to a point where there's no turning back. Maybe something happens that you can't take back, they can't take back. When you really listen to what somebody is trying to say, it's sometimes a little bit easier to separate yourself in those situations and those times where you're dealing with a difficult person. I'm not saying it's easy. And that's why I said at the beginning that the art of listening is something that you may have to spend a number of years practicing and learning before you actually get to a point where you're proficient. But once you are proficient, you become more like Yoda. I know I did that video, Be Like Yoda, but I mean, you become more like that. You're less affected by those situations where there's animosity directed towards you. And you're able to deal with that a little bit better because you're able to separate that out. You're able to say, well, I'm not going to take this personally. I'm going to take a step outside of this situation and look at it objectively and try to pick apart exactly what this person is trying to say, or even use your words to a sense to where you can say, you know, sir, what is it that you're really trying to say to me? Well, I'm really pissed off because of blah, 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 blah stuff you did. And then you come to find out his wife left him that morning. And, you know, it just so happens that his car had a rattle that it didn't have before. Well, that's the body in the trunk. That was a joke. But that illustrates my point, is that they may have caused something. I also touched on this a little bit when personal problems become mechanical problems. People tend to take their frustrations out on their vehicles or out on inanimate objects when they feel frustrated. And as a result, as a technician, you may have to deal with this stuff. Or even as a DIY, like say your uncle is a hot-tempered guy who likes to drink a lot and he needs you to work on his Toyota. And you just happen to have mechanical ability and a set of tools. So you have to suffer through this. So it's not just technicians that have to suffer through this. I think we all have to suffer through situations where we're dealing with people that are hot-headed or just difficult to deal with. And if you really listen to what they're saying, if you try to read between the lines of those words that they're using, you may find that, you know, there's a bit of pain, there's a bit of anguish, there's a bit of self-loathing maybe underneath all of that. And having that understanding kind of lets you take a step back and say, you know what, this person, the reason they are this way, I mean, they may have a really darn good reason. I'm not saying that justifies bad behavior. I'm not saying a bad day justifies bad behavior. But what I'm saying is if you find yourself in that situation, use your ears and listen to what they're saying. Use your words. Choose them carefully. Because words, once they're out there, they're out there. It's like right now, speaking to you, these words are forever embedded in digital universe. Who knows what happens after this? I'm just putting these thoughts out there for you. And I just think when you're in situations where you're dealing with difficult customers, or you're just taking information from them, or just generally dealing with people, is that if you take a moment and you listen to what they're really trying to say, and like I say, they may not be able to articulate it very well, and it may take you a very long time to develop this skill set. But once you do develop this skill set, for me, things got a lot easier. And I'm not saying I'm perfect with this. I mean, I get frustrated just like anybody else. And, I have to take a step back. I mean, we've had a couple of videos on those kinds of things where you have to just figure out, like, where your battles are and which ones that you're going to invest in and which ones that you're just going to, And that's not an easy thing to do, because you learn those times over experience. You learn more about yourself and you learn more about your own capabilities. And sometimes you're put into situations where you have no choice but to deal with it. And through doing that, that can grow your skill set in another direction and make you stronger, better than before. Here's the question back to you. What do you feel about the art of listening? Have you used the art of listening in your own daily life, either in dealing with customers or dealing with difficult people? Have you been one of those people who may be angry, who may be lashing out? And if so, is there a reason for that? And can you take a good look at that reason and say to yourself, is there something that I can do about it to make a change so that I don't have to feel this way? Because ultimately, that's what you're going to need to do. It's up to you to change. It's not going to be somebody else that's going to walk through the door and that's going to make it all better. It's got to start with you. I mean, change starts with us. As far as conversations go, if you have automotive questions, I would ask that you head over to ericthecarguy.com. Why? Because it's freaking awesome. I mean, it's really freaking awesome. So awesome, in fact, we have a listing. We anticipate your arrival with your automotive questions. And it's all split up into categories. All you got to do is click the one that applies to you, and it's all split up into subcategories from there. And plenty of reading and video watching might get you the answer that you're looking for. Well, if that's not the case, I realize that might not be perfect. Try typing in a couple of keywords into our search function over there at the top of the page. And when I say keywords, I mean like brake noise, I mean like engine won't start, stuff like that. Just a couple of keywords. Don't write out your whole problem, because that's going to confuse our search engine and they won't know what to do with that. But you can also type in your check engine light codes. So we've got all kinds of goodness for you using that search function. If that doesn't work, sign up for a form absolutely free. All you need is an email address. Remember, spam folder, bulk folder, that kind of thing, if you don't get that confirmation email, because if you don't click it, you won't be able to complete your registration and you'll be frustrated and sad, and I don't want that. If you wish to connect with me socially, you can find me on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter, and I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, and of course, stay dirty. And I will see you next time. And next time, well, ETCG1, we post videos on Mondays. I'll see you then.